The Turkish president has unveiled his new presidential palace amidst huge controversy.
Some people collect shoes, others collect watches. And then there are those who collect rooms, thousands of them. Across the world, a handful of residences exist on a scale so massive, they redefine what we think a home can be. We're talking about structures with thousands of rooms, sprawling across millions of square feet, built by emperors, sultans, and billionaires who decided that ordinary just wouldn't cut it. So what does it actually take to claim the title of the world's biggest mansion? Istana Nurul Iman, the Sultan's Palace. In the small, oil-rich nation of Brunei sits a structure that makes most palaces look like vacation cottages. Istana Nurul Iman, the official residence of the Sultan of Brunei, holds the Guinness World Record as the largest residential palace on Earth. The numbers are almost ridiculous. We're talking about 2.15 million square feet of floor space spread across 1,788 rooms. To put that in perspective, you could fit nearly 3 Pentagons inside this single residence. The palace sits on the banks of the Brunei River in the capital city of Bandar Seri Begawan, and it's not just big for the sake of being big. It houses the royal family, government offices, and serves as the administrative heart of the Sultanate. Inside, you'll find 257 bathrooms, a banquet hall that can accommodate 5 Gizan guests, a mosque for 1,500 worshippers, 110-car garage, air-conditioned stables, and even a polo complex. The structure blends traditional Islamic architecture with modern Malay designs, all coated in genuine gold leaf across its 18 golden domes. The palace was completed in 1984, just in time for Brunei's independence from British protection, and it reportedly cost around $1.4 billion to build. The Sultan opens parts of it to the public just once a year during the Islamic celebration of Hari Raya, when citizens can visit and receive gifts from the royal family. The rest of the year, it remains a functioning seat of power and home to one of the world's wealthiest monarchs. Presidential Complex, Aksaray, Turkey's controversial giant. When Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan moved into his new official residence in 2014, the structure immediately sparked controversy. And not just for political reasons. The presidential complex in Ankara, often called Aksaray or White Palace, is enormous even by palace standards.
Complex has been built on one of the city's best preserved green spaces.
Official figures place the complex somewhere between 2.15 and 3.2 million square feet, making it potentially larger than even Istana Nurul Iman when you include all the buildings and grounds. The complex features over 1,000 rooms spread across multiple buildings, including a massive main palace, guest houses, conference halls, and service buildings. The architecture draws heavily from Seljuk and Ottoman influences, with grand domes, ornate decorations, and sprawling courtyards. The cost has been a major point of dispute. Various estimates place construction spending at anywhere from $615 million to well over $1 billion, all built on protected forest land in the Ataturk Forest Farm, which was previously designated as public green space. Turkish courts actually ruled the construction illegal in 2015, but by then the president had already taken residence, and the ruling had little practical effect. The complex symbolizes a shift in Turkish governance toward more centralized presidential power, quite literally embodied in this palatial seat of authority. Critics argue it represents excess and disregard for environmental protections. Supporters see it as a statement of national pride and Turkish architectural heritage. Either way, it's undeniably one of the largest residential government complexes on the planet. Apostolic Palace, the Pope's historic home. In the heart of Vatican City, the world's smallest country, sits one of its largest buildings. The Apostolic Palace serves as the official residence of the Pope and the administrative center of the Catholic Church. With around 1.7 million square feet of floor space, it's a sprawling maze of apartments, chapels, museums, galleries, and government offices, all connected through centuries of construction and expansion. The palace isn't a single building, but rather a collection of structures built and modified over nearly 1,000 years. It includes the Sistine Chapel, where Michelangelo's famous ceiling frescoes draw millions of visitors. It houses the Vatican museums, the Raphael rooms, and countless other artistic and historical treasures. The Pope's actual living quarters make up only a small fraction of the complex, usually just a modest apartment of a few rooms. The rest serves the massive bureaucratic and ceremonial needs of running the global Catholic Church. What makes the Apostolic Palace unique is its dual nature. It's simultaneously a private residence, a government headquarters, a museum complex, and one of Christianity's most sacred sites. Parts are open to tourists year-round, while other sections remain strictly off-limits, reserved for papal business and residents. The building reflects centuries of papal power, artistic patronage, and religious authority, all compressed into a surprisingly small geographic footprint. Royal Palace of Caserta, Italy's Bourbon masterpiece. About 20 miles north of Naples sits a palace so grand it was built specifically to rival Versailles. The Royal Palace of Caserta was commissioned in 1752 by Charles VII of Naples, who wanted a residence that would showcase the wealth and power of the Bourbon dynasty. What he got was a structure with 1.5 million square feet of floor space, 1,200 rooms, and an architectural footprint that still impresses nearly 3 centuries later. The architect Luigi Vanvitelli designed the palace as a perfect rectangle with 4 massive courtyards. Inside, you'll find a grand staircase considered one of the finest examples of 18th century European architecture, a stunning throne room, a court theater, and endless halls decorated with frescoes, tapestries, and period furniture. The palace sits at one end of a 3-kilometer-long park featuring monumental fountains, waterfalls, and manicured gardens that stretch toward the distant mountains. The Bourbons used Caserta as their primary residence and the administrative center of the Kingdom of Naples until Italian unification in 1861. After that, it became state property and eventually opened to the public. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Italy's most visited attractions. The palace has also appeared in numerous films, standing in for various royal residences thanks to its remarkably preserved interiors. It represents the absolute peak of Bourbon ambition, frozen in marble and gilt. Royal Palace of Madrid, Spain's ceremonial wonder. Spain's Royal Palace in Madrid holds a particular distinction. With 1.45 million square feet and 3,418 rooms, it's the largest functioning royal palace in Europe by floor area. But here's the twist: nobody actually lives there. The Spanish royal family resides in the much more modest Zarzuela Palace on the outskirts of Madrid, using the royal palace exclusively for state ceremonies, official receptions, and tourist visits. Construction began in 1738 on the site of a former Moorish fortress that had burned down. The palace took over a century to fully complete, resulting in a stunning example of Spanish Baroque architecture. Inside, you'll find rooms decorated by the finest artists of their time, priceless collections of art and furniture, one of the world's most important armories, and even a pharmacy that operated for centuries. The palace sits on a prominent hill overlooking the Manzanares River, dominating Madrid's western skyline. Its sheer scale reflects the global reach of the Spanish Empire at its height, when Spain controlled territories across Europe, the Americas, and Asia. Today, parts of the palace are open to the public when not in use for official functions, allowing visitors to walk through throne rooms, state dining halls, and royal apartments that showcase centuries of Spanish history and craftsmanship. Forbidden City, Imperial China's architectural marvel. For nearly 500 years, the heart of Chinese imperial power beat within the walls of Beijing's Forbidden City. This massive palace complex served as home to 24 emperors across the Ming and Qing dynasties, and its scale reflects the absolute authority they wielded. The complex contains around 1.6 million square feet of floor space, spread across 980 buildings and nearly 9,000 rooms, all surrounded by a 26-foot-high wall and a wide moat. Construction began in 1406 under the Yongle Emperor, who moved China's capital from Nanjing to Beijing. Over 200,000 workers and countless artisans spent 14 years building the complex according to strict principles of Chinese geomancy and traditional cosmology. The result is a perfectly symmetrical layout, centered on a north-south axis, with the most important buildings aligned to face south, the direction associated with the emperor's supreme authority. The name Forbidden City comes from the fact that ordinary citizens were barred from entering without imperial permission, on pain of death. Inside these walls, emperors conducted state business, performed religious ceremonies, and lived in luxury while being served by thousands of concubines, eunuchs, and servants. The last emperor was expelled in 1912 after the fall of the Qing dynasty, though he was briefly allowed back before being permanently removed in 1924. Today, the Forbidden City operates as the Palace Museum and ranks among the world's most visited tourist attractions. It stands as one of the best preserved examples of traditional Chinese palatial architecture and offers an unparalleled glimpse into imperial life. The complex was designed to physically represent the emperor's role as the son of heaven, the intermediary between the earthly and divine realms. Walking through it, you can still feel the weight of that cosmic authority. Quirinal Palace, Italy's presidential residence. Perched on Rome's highest hill sits the Quirinal Palace, a structure that has served popes, kings, and now presidents. With about 1.2 million square feet of space and more than 200 rooms, it's one of the largest palaces in the world, and it's still very much a working government building as the official residence of Italy's president. The palace began as a papal summer residence in the 1570s, built to escape the humidity and disease that plagued the low-lying Vatican during hot months. Various popes expanded it over the centuries, turning it into a sprawling complex of state rooms, private apartments, chapels, and gardens. When Italian forces captured Rome in 1870, the newly unified Italian kingdom seized the Quirinal and made it the royal residence. After World War II and the abolition of the monarchy, it became the presidential palace. The Quirinal contains extraordinary artistic treasures, including works by Guido Reni, Pietro da Cortona, and countless other masters who decorated its halls over 40 years. The palace gardens offer some of the finest views in Rome, looking out over the city's domes and rooftops. Unlike purely ceremonial palaces, the Quirinal remains a functioning seat of government where Italy's president lives and works, hosting foreign dignitaries and conducting the daily business of state. Buckingham Palace, Britain's royal icon. When most people picture a royal residence, Buckingham Palace probably comes to mind.
Visitors to Buckingham Palace will soon be able to see even more of its treasures than ever before.
London's most famous building serves as the official residence of the British monarch and has become an instantly recognizable symbol of the British royal family. With around 828,000 square feet of floor space and 775 rooms, it's not the largest royal palace in Europe, but it's certainly one of the most important.
Now more of the palace will be open to the public than ever before.
The palace started as a townhouse built for the Duke of Buckingham in 1703. King George III bought it in 1761 as a private residence for Queen Charlotte, and it gradually expanded over the decades. Queen Victoria was the first monarch to use it as an official royal residence when she moved in upon her accession in 1837. Since then, it's been continuously expanded and renovated to serve as both a home and the administrative headquarters of the monarchy. Inside, you'll find 52 royal and guest bedrooms, 188 staff bedrooms, 92 offices, and 78 bathrooms.
Is a very special corridor. It's called the Principal Corridor, and I'm literally walking in the footsteps of generations of the royal family.
The palace hosts over 50,000 people each year at banquets, receptions, garden parties, and state functions. The staterooms used for official entertaining are open to the public each summer when the Queen or King is away on holiday. The palace sits at the end of the mall, serving as the backdrop for major national celebrations and a focal point for British national identity.
So this is very exciting, the first time the East Wing has been open to the public.
That iconic balcony where the royal family appears during major events has witnessed some of the most significant moments in modern British history. Palace of Versailles, France's ultimate symbol of royalty. If one building could be said to embody absolute monarchy, it's the Palace of Versailles. Built by Louis XIV, the Sun King, as a demonstration of royal power and French cultural dominance, Versailles transformed from a hunting lodge into perhaps history's most famous royal residence. The main palace building contains about 721,000 square feet spread across 2,300 rooms, but that barely captures the scale when you include the sprawling gardens, secondary palaces, and grounds. Louis XIV moved his court and government to Versailles in 1682, transforming it into the political center of France. The palace wasn't just a residence, but a carefully designed instrument of royal control. By requiring the nobility to spend time at court, competing for royal favor through elaborate etiquette and ceremony, Louis kept potential rivals close and dependent on his goodwill. The result was a bizarre world of obsessive ritual, where everything from the king's waking up to his going to bed became formal public ceremonies. The most famous room is the Hall of Mirrors, a 240-foot-long gallery with 357 mirrors that was the largest such collection in the world at the time. The room was designed to dazzle visitors and demonstrate French wealth and technological sophistication. The palace also contains a royal chapel, an opera house, and countless rooms decorated with the finest art and craftsmanship of the age. The French Revolution ended Versailles' role as a royal residence when the mob forced Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette back to Paris in 1789. Today it operates as a museum and stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, attracting millions of visitors who come to glimpse the extravagance that helped spark a revolution. The gardens alone, with their geometric perfection and monumental fountains, represent the pinnacle of French formal landscape design. Umaid Bhawan Palace, India's living heritage. In the desert city of Jodhpur stands a palace that manages to be three things at once: a royal residence, a luxury hotel, and a museum. Umaid Bhawan Palace, with around 1 million square feet and 347 rooms, represents one of the last great palaces built in India before independence ended the age of princely states. Construction began in 1929 during a terrible famine, partly as a job creation program to employ thousands of workers for 15 years until completion in 1943. The Maharaja Umaid Singh wanted a palace that would showcase his dynasty, while providing relief to his suffering subjects. The result blends Art Deco influences with traditional Rajput architecture, creating something unique in the landscape of Indian royal residences. The palace is built from golden yellow Chitter sandstone, sitting on Chitter Hill with commanding views over Jodhpur, the Blue City. The interior features Art Deco murals, period furniture, and a museum dedicated to the royal family's history and the palace's construction. What makes Umaid Bhawan particularly interesting is that it's still a functioning royal residence. The current Maharaja and his family occupy a portion of the palace, while the Taj Hotels Group operates 64 rooms as one of the world's most exclusive hotels, and the museum occupies another section. This arrangement allows the palace to remain economically viable while preserving its heritage and continuing its role as a royal home. You can actually pay to stay in the same building where Indian royalty still lives, experiencing a slice of Maharaja life while helping fund the palace's upkeep. Antilia, the vertical mansion. Most mansions spread horizontally across estates and grounds. Antilia goes up instead. This 27-story private residence in Mumbai belongs to Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani and redefines what a family home can be. With about 400,000 square feet of space, it's valued at over $2 billion, making it one of the most expensive private residences ever built. Designed by Chicago-based architects Perkins and Will, Antilia looks like a stacked series of geometric blocks rather than a traditional skyscraper. The design was inspired by the mythical island of Antilia and incorporates principles of Vastu Shastra, the traditional Indian system of architecture. The building requires a staff of 600 to maintain and contains amenities that sound more like a luxury resort than a home. Inside, you'll find 3 helipads on the roof, 6 floors of parking for the family's car collection, a theater, multiple swimming pools, a health spa, an ice room that pumps out snowflakes to cool off in Mumbai's heat, and 9 elevators. The building is designed to withstand an earthquake measuring 8 on the Richter scale. Each floor has different ceiling heights, meaning the structure is actually equivalent to a conventional 60-story building, despite only having 27 floors. Antilia has attracted its share of controversy. Some critics view it as excessive and tone-deaf in a city where millions live in slums. Others see it as a legitimate example of private wealth creating jobs and showcasing Indian architectural ambition. Either way, it represents a completely different approach to residential architecture. Instead of sprawling across land, Ambani's mansion conquers vertical space, packing everything a billionaire might want into a single tower overlooking the Arabian Sea. Biltmore Estate, America's Gilded Age giant. In the mountains of western North Carolina sits the largest privately owned home in the United States. The Biltmore House, completed in 1895, contains 178,926 square feet, 35 bedrooms, 43 bathrooms, and 65 fireplaces. It was built by George Washington Vanderbilt II, grandson of shipping and railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt, as a private country retreat that would showcase American wealth and sophistication. Vanderbilt hired Richard Morris Hunt, one of America's premier architects, to design a French Renaissance chateau that would rival the great houses of Europe. The result took 6 years and thousands of workers to complete, incorporating materials and furnishings gathered from around the world. The house sits on an 88,000-acre estate, much of which was landscaped by Frederick Law Olmsted, the designer of New York's Central Park. The interior includes a banquet hall with a 70-foot ceiling, a library containing 10,000 volumes, an indoor swimming pool, a bowling alley, and a basement with servants' quarters and support facilities that functioned like a small village. The house was electrified from the beginning and featured advanced systems for heating and ventilation that were cutting edge for the time. Vanderbilt died relatively young in 1914, and his widow opened the house to visitors during the Great Depression to generate income. The estate remains in the family's hands today, operating as a major tourist attraction that draws over 1 million visitors annually. The house and grounds represent the absolute peak of Gilded Age excess, built during an era when American industrial fortunes created wealth on a scale never seen before. Walking through it offers a glimpse into a world where money truly seemed unlimited, and building the biggest was simply what you did. The One. Modern excess in Bel Air. Los Angeles has never been shy about excess, but the One takes it to another level. This 105,000 square foot mega mansion in Bel Air represents modern real estate development at its most ambitious and ultimately its most troubled. Designed by architect Paul McLean and developed by Niall Niami, the house was conceived as the ultimate modern luxury residence, a place so over the top it would redefine what wealthy buyers expected. Construction began in 2014 on a 5-acre promontory with 360-degree views from downtown Los Angeles to the Pacific Ocean. The finished product includes 21 bedrooms, 42 bathrooms, 7 water features including a moat, a 30-car garage, a 5,500 square foot master suite, a nightclub, a bowling alley, a 50-seat theater, 4 swimming pools, and a charity wing designed to host large fundraising events. The house was originally planned to sell for $500 million, which would have made it the most expensive private residence ever listed. But the project encountered financial problems. Developer Niami couldn't finish construction without taking on massive debt, and the house eventually fell into receivership. In 2022, it sold at auction for only $141 million, a record for a home sold at auction, but far below the initial asking price. The buyer, fashion entrepreneur Richard Sagian, now owns a monument to a particular moment in luxury real estate development, when bigger was always better and no amenity was too excessive. The One represents both the peak and perhaps the limit of the modern mega mansion trend, a house so large it struggled to find anyone willing to pay what it cost to build. Uptown Court and Whittenhurst, Britain's private mega estates. While Britain is known for its historic palaces, it also has produced some notable modern mega estates. 2 properties in particular stand out for their sheer scale. Uptown Court in Surrey and Whittenhurst in London both represent the modern trend of taking existing large homes and expanding them into something approaching palace scale. Uptown Court sits on 58 acres in Surrey, about 25 miles from London. The property includes 103 rooms spread across a newly built mansion that incorporates every imaginable luxury feature, from a marble driveway for 8 cars to a bowling alley, tennis court, squash court, 50-seat cinema, heated marble floors, panic room, and enough garage space for 20 vehicles. The house was built on spec in the early 2000s and originally listed for £70 million, though it struggled to find a buyer at that price. Whittenhurst in London's Highgate neighborhood takes a different approach. The original house, built between 1913 and 1920, was already one of London's largest private homes. But in the 2000s, new owners undertook a massive renovation and expansion, digging deep into Highgate's clay to add multiple basement levels. The expanded home now contains roughly 90,000 square feet, making it London's largest private residence after Buckingham Palace. Both properties reflect a particular phenomenon in luxury real estate where developers or owners create palace-scale residences for the ultra-wealthy, incorporating the amenities of a resort hotel into a private home. They represent modern wealth's desire for the scale and grandeur of historic palaces, but with contemporary comforts and technology. What makes a mansion the biggest? Measuring the world's largest mansions isn't as straightforward as it might seem. Different sources use different metrics, leading to conflicting claims about which building actually deserves the title of biggest. Some measure total floor space. Others count only living areas. Some include basements and garages while others don't. And palace complexes with multiple buildings create additional complications. The distinction between palaces and private homes also matters. Many of the largest buildings on any list are official government residences or former royal palaces now serving as museums. They were built with state resources to house governments and courts, not just families. A purely private home like Antilia or Biltmore serves a fundamentally different purpose than a palace like Istana Nurul Iman, even if both technically function as residences. There's also the question of what counts as a single building versus a complex. The Forbidden City contains 980 buildings across its grounds. Should that count as one massive palace or as a collection of structures? Different measurement approaches give different answers. Some sources measure the entire estate or complex area, which can include gardens, courtyards, and grounds. Others measure only interior floor space, or sometimes just the main palace building. These measurement challenges mean you'll see different rankings depending on the source. What's clear is that whether we're talking about the Sultan of Brunei's palace, the Vatican's papal residence, or a billionaire's vertical mansion in Mumbai, these structures all represent human ambition expressed through architecture. They're physical statements about power, wealth, and what's possible when resources and ego align. These massive residences tell us something about the cultures and eras that produced them. Imperial palaces embodied divine authority and cosmic order. Royal residences demonstrated dynastic power and taste. Modern mega-mansions showcase individual wealth in an age of unprecedented fortunes. But they all share one thing. They push the boundaries of residential scale, creating homes so large they border on becoming small cities unto themselves.